Hello, good morning, and welcome to this really nighttime taste challenge. I have two 40% alcohol Canadian blended whiskeys. Uh, this is called Canadian Peak Blended Canadian Whiskey. It's got the mountains in the background. It's not made in the Canadian mountains, I don't think. A blend of premium Canadian whiskeys aged in oak barrels. Well, that's the law. All Canadian whiskey has to be aged in oak barrels. There's a write up on the back. It says from County Line Distillers. I checked the trademark data. Okay, it was introduced in 1961. And they're saying that the original trademark owner is still the current trademark owner, the Sazerac Company, or they're listing it as Sazerac Brands LLC. Sazerac Brands. Real cork. Real wooden cap. I bought this at Hocus Pocus Liquors on United States Highway 61 northbound in Prairieville, Louisiana. It was like $16. And then they had the big handle you could get for like $26, a better value, but I have enough left for one more taste challenge, I think. But I didn't want that much of it because I didn't know if I was going to like it. I assumed I would, but. So County Line Distillers is one of those alias names that Sazerac Brands or Buffalo Trace likes to use to distance themselves from it. But it's strange that they do that because they've always owned, according to the trademark office, they've always owned the brand. This one has a wooden cap as well, but it's a rubber stopper, synthetic rubber. And this is Tennessee Crown Club. Obscure to say the least. Not made in Tennessee. Has no relationship to Tennessee, except that they probably call it that and they sell it mainly in Tennessee. I know if you go to Total Wine and More here in Louisiana, they have a product, same exact bottle design. It might even be 7-year age. I didn't look at it carefully. It's called Texas Crown Club. And, well, they had it the last time I was over there, at least. And it's got an oil well on it. But I don't know a thing about Texas Crown Club, but it's not made in Texas, Canadian whiskey. So this is from Select Club. Don't know who the parent company is. But make sure I got it. Okay. Mostly they sell flavored whiskeys, all types of flavors. Apple, green apple, salted caramel, a cream liqueur, Canadian whiskey cream liqueur, believe it or not. Pour too much again. Well, that's not a big difference, a little bit of a difference. Of course, the weight could affect it. Now, I'm not going to change it because I won't have enough Canadian Peak for a second challenge, a final challenge. Neither one of these say anything about flavoring on it. You know, they don't say with natural flavors. They could have flavoring added because in Canada, the law doesn't require you to disclose that. But interestingly, Sazerac usually is good about indicating that on their bottles. Most of their Canadian whiskeys, it says it. Canadian blended whiskey with natural flavors. So when they don't put it, I assume they don't have it. It usually doesn't taste like it. Usually when you taste the ones that say with natural flavors, like last night, the one last night, it'll come through. You'll pick it up. Of course, I don't think it's just psychological that you know about it. It's just it has that vanilla and nut oil flavor. Now, Tennessee Crown Club is aged for 7 years in ex-bourbon barrels. I know that because it says it on the bottle. And then it's finished maybe a few months in ex-sherry barrels. So they use an interesting technique. They age it in bourbon for 7 years, bourbon barrels, I meant to say. And then they take these ex-sherry wine casks from who knows where, uh, and they finish it, give it a little tweak of flavor. So that's that story. And they do that with Chivas Regal. There's a sherry cask finish version, which I tried and I really liked. The whiskey market is so flooded these days, and I've read articles saying that it's kind of in decline after the bourbon boom of the last 20 years. It started to go into decline because everybody's kind of like tired of it now. And like they say, a boom is always followed by a bust. So to differentiate themselves, they do the sherry cask finish, port wine cask finish, marsala cask finish, rum cask finish, and it seemed endless. I think there's a new Crown Royal finish in Madeira cask. I didn't look at that carefully though. I didn't go into detail looking at it. But they got to do something. So there's too many brands chasing too few people, and if the number of whiskey drinkers is declining, then they're even in more of a pickle. So they had this big article, about these distilleries closed down. They try to make it sound like, Wild Turkey or somebody went out of business, but it was two obscure distilleries. One filed bankruptcy and stopped operations, and they had barely started. It was a startup, and another one was seeking bankruptcy protection to continue operations. So these were two little startup companies. They started at the wrong time, and they're not major players by any means. And you probably could barely ever find their products if they exist at all on the market. And they were saying Wild Turkey sales had gone down. That's happened before, and they have these cyclical things. So it's not like they're going out of business, but so that's kind of like what they call clickbait articles. But the article was interesting nonetheless, showing that it was in a relative decline. And other types, the liquor industry as a whole is in decline. It's not just that segment, bourbon, but it is. And beer drinking is in decline. Beer. They say younger people just don't drink. I don't know I haven't examined it. I don't know the whole story. Tennessee Crown Club is 85% corn, 15% rye. Actually, if you look at the Government of Canada government website and their description of Canadian blended whiskey, an alternative name for it is rye. You could just call it rye. That's an old-timey, old-fashioned terminology. No one really calls it that anymore. But Canadian whiskey was known in the past to have a high rye content, so the nickname was rye. But some people got the impression that it was all rye. Really, they do make all 100% rye Canadian whiskeys. That's not a surprise that they do that. I have one, but most people just call it Canadian blended whiskey. Let's see if they have Tennessee Crown Club at Total Wine & More. I'm thinking they do not. No results. I found it at some store on the west bank of the Mississippi River, but I can't remember the store. Was it Rouse's? Was it Savannah Discount? I don't remember. It was $7.99, so I bought it. Why not, right? But and I've been pleased with it. I could have bought a bottle from my friend David, but he's usually kind of down on Canadian whiskey, so I didn't buy it. But let's see, Texas Crown Club. That's what it's called, Texas Crown Club, not Texas Crown as they're calling it. They have it in Baton Rouge. They don't have it in Metairie right now, but it's just out of stock. Ultra premium, yeah. This is saying small batch. I guess it is a small batch because not too well known, it's not too well distributed. Texas Crown Club. I'll show it to you. I'll show you what this looks like. You'll get the picture. Enjoy the decline, says top of the morning to you, Ron. Same to you. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. So there it is. Same bottle. exact same bottle that I have, different label, same cap, rubber stopper or synthetic rubber stopper. But of course, they're using not a map of Tennessee and a crown. The same crown though, but they're using the Texas Lone Star and they're using rigs because Texas is known for oil petroleum. Doesn't say 7 years though. These say made from a blend of wheat, rye, and barley, and not aged. There's a misprint there. Age it should be for a minimum of 4 years in oak barrels to produce a premium spirit with a smooth character. Its body proves to be enjoyed. Neat. Proves to be. Hey, I bet you Total Wine and More didn't write it. It's just some kind of sell sheet, and they typed in or copied and pasted it. But there's that pecan, same price as Mathern's, $24.99. At 88, 4.4, 88 or 8.8 out. So they're saying a B plus. $24.99. Yeah, I never bought it because they always have something cheaper, So, like Crown Royal is sometimes $22.99. Got a deal. Wasn't looking for it. But like I always say, why not? Heck. All right. Will I be able to tell these apart? I hope so, because right now my record is 1 win, 1 loss, 1 tie, 1-1-1. I was able to tell them apart yesterday afternoon, evening. The two previous got it wrong, and then the first one I called it a tie. I couldn't tell it apart. I wasn't going to pretend like I could, so I called it a tie, and that was it. Smell like grain. Fermented and distilled grain. Cereal grain. Now maybe I'm picking up a sherry note there. But there's not much difference so far. Appearance about the same, aroma the same, taste probably be the same. Price, well, now that's the difference. Like I said, the regular price for this, it runs about $25. Talking about the Tennessee Crown Club. The Canadian Peak, like I said, it was like 16. I haven't checked Hocus Pocus Liquors lately. They still sell it. I could find out the price is not that important. It's probably still around $16, $17. So you're going to save money on the Canadian Peak. And they've radically changed the bottle design over the years. If you look at the old 1961 bottles of Canadian Peak, it's just a standard round, whiskey bottle with an old time. Those old Canadian whiskey labels used to always be the same. It would be a lot of text, like written in cursive. And it would have always like the same type of thing. This product produced under the supervision of the Canadian government. Premium, imported from Canada with a maple leaf and that kind of thing. It was like they all look kind of the same. Canadian gold, Canadian leaf, Canadian lake, Canadian club. The only one that ever really looked different was Crown Royal. And then I guess they decided to start making them look a little better, Not that I don't think the old style looked bad. It just probably looked kind of old fashioned, and then this one maybe make it stand out more with this kind of flashy bottle with the background of the mountains and, aesthetically nice. But old Sazerac, they don't feature too many products on their website. They'll show their featured stuff. They're going to show Sazerac Rye. Naturally, that's one of their flagship products. They're going to show Buffalo Trace. They're going to show Eagle Rare. All right, you know that. They're going to show Southern Comfort, one of their big time products. Myers' Rum, one of their big time rums that they acquired. So that's what they always pushing that stuff. But other ones, they kind of just ignore. They don't kind of ignore, they definitely ignore. And over the years, they've dropped some of the other ones off their website. Like they used to show Imperial Scotch. They don't show that anymore. Miles Gin, they might still show Miles, but they must have hundreds of brands. So, you know, the old website used to show everything. It's just pages and pages of little photos, thumbnails of the product, and they would have a write-up on each thing. Didn't matter how obscure. James Fox, they had it. But then they redid their website about 8 years ago, and they maybe 5 years ago, and made it more modern and just cut back on what they were showing. Same thing with Heaven Hill. You get on the Heaven Hill website, you say, man, they don't make too many products. I mean, they make a good amount, a few dozen, but it's actually a few hundred. But they only show a select. Of course, Elijah Craig, Evan Williams, and all that stuff. Yeah, it tastes nice. Sweet, vanilla, sugary. Whiskey to me tastes sugary. Oh, Sazerac, of course, always pushes Paul Masson brandy because they bought it. They did buy it from whoever had owned it. They may as well have bought it because they were aging all of that stuff at their own facility in Bardstown, Kentucky. When I went on the tour there, the girls said, do you know that half of what we age here is not whiskey? She said, can anybody guess? Can either one of you, because only two of us on the tour. It's probably why they stopped doing tours there and people weren't going. She said, does either one of you know what we age here besides whiskey? I said, brandy. She was acting shocked. Actually, I just took a guess. It seemed plausible. She said, that's right. Half of what we age here is Paul Masson brandy. We have a contract with them to age their brandy here. And they went from a contract to buying it. They just bought the whole brand. And maybe the distillery, for all I know, I think it was up there in New York State, something like that. Well, actually, it started in California. Paul Masson started in California. And there's still Paul Masson table wine. But I think that's under somebody else's control, because Sazerac is not interested in wine. They only do liquor. This tastes the same. Vanilla, oak, sweet, little honey, candied fruitcake fruit. That's where that sweetness is coming from. They don't have any candied fruitcake fruit added. I don't believe. Yeah, but Paul Masson, they sold out in 1949. Or was it 1940? Something like that. He died in 1940, the actual man, Paul Masson. And his family didn't want it. So they sold it to somebody, and then that person, they sold it to them. And, you know, it's had so many owners. You can look at the trademark info, and it'll show who owned it all along. So, yeah, they push that because that's a major brand. You go to any liquor store, you know they're going to have Paul Masson. And then they got that new Paul Masson Frost, that clear brandy, no coloring added. It's clear like vodka, but it's got flavors. They make it taste like, to me, it tastes like a pineapple slushy or something like that. Not a bad flavor, but it's strange. It doesn't taste like brandy. But I see people talking about it. This is going to be a tough one because they taste so similar. Could the Tennessee Crown Club be coming from Sazerac, Canada? They have a distillery in Montreal. They said something about they were going to have tours coming up, but I don't know if that ever developed. But it could be, because I don't think there's such a thing as a Select Club distillery in Canada. I think it's sourced from some. Crown Royal does a big bunch of distilling. Alberta Distillers. The one in Montreal, I think they call it the Old Montreal Distillery, Sazerac Montreal, Sazerac Canada. That's 3. There's a Black Velvet Distillery. That's 4. That's owned by Heaven Hill. Black Velvet Distillery. That's 4. There's 40 Creek. I don't think that's that big, but it's there. Kind of well known. That's 5. Canadian Club. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not that many big ones. And they just produce a lot of overflow, which means they sell it under contract, and you can put your label on it They do that with a lot of bourbon. They produce a ton of it, like literally tons of it, and they sell it off to whoever wants to bid on it, and they put their own name on it. It'll say, there was one that was like Las Vegas Wagon Wheel or whatever that thing was called. Saw that was coming in a couple of years ago. Las Vegas Wagon Wheel or whatever. They were really touting it, this whiskey, making it look like it was from Las Vegas. People were like, oh yeah, I love going to Vegas. And I was like, uh-huh. Let me look at this label carefully. And it said real small on the label, product of Indiana. I said, uh-huh. Well, what do you know? Same old story. Produced, distilled in Indiana. That was comical. So, yes, it could be the case that Sazerac is making this stuff and selling it to Select Club, whoever those people are, and they're putting their name on it, which might be why it tastes the same. Might be the same. I can't say that, though, but Anheuser-Busch started making Pabst products this year. Why was that? Because they got a contract to do it. They got paid. Plus, it helps pull Pabst under their thumb, you see. I don't think the U.S. government would allow them to buy it, though. Because Anheuser-Busch is always trying to get over 50% of the market. They already have 49%. They want 50%. Over 50. They want a majority. But then the U.S. government's like, you'll be a monopoly. You know, and the Miller Brewing and other companies like, we can't allow that. Even though they own all the Modelo brands, but they're not allowed to sell it in the United States. They have to use a shell company to sell it called Constellation Brands. So they got the contract to distribute it and make it in Nava, Mexico, and distribute it. But ultimately, Modelo beers are owned by Anheuser-Busch InBev. Hey, don't blame me. I didn't construct this edifice. All right. Don't blame me. I'm only the piano player. Don't shoot me. I'm only the piano player. Could these rival Crown Royal? I mean, yeah, they could, because they taste very similar to Crown Royal. I noticed that when I did the taste challenge, couldn't tell them apart. You say, well, maybe Crown Royal makes Select Club. They probably have overflow over there. Yeah, that's right. And it could be. I tried the new Anheuser-Busch Pabst Blue Ribbon. I tried the Anheuser-Busch Pabst Light, and I tried the Anheuser-Busch produced Colt 45 Original Lager, malt liquor lager. They're very much improved over the old production. They don't taste like Anheuser-Busch beers in any in particular. Like, I can't think of any that they taste like. But they certainly. I want to try the new Anheuser-Busch Schlitz production. I can't find it. But you'll never see Anheuser-Busch anywhere on that label. No way, Jack. It's going to say Pabst Brewing Company, St. Louis, Missouri. Oh yeah, well, no, I don't think Pabst is known to be from St. Louis. Most consumers don't pay attention to any of that on the label. Maybe. This has a sherry note, but maybe not. I hate to do this, and it's not a cop-out. It's not a cop-out. It's an attempt to be honest, because if I wanted to cop out, what I would really do is take a guess. And I got a 50-50 shot. That's good odds. So I say, oh, look, I got it right. But I'm just sitting there telling you I can't tell them apart. So I'm not going to call it. I'm going to say it's a tie. I can't tell. So that puts me at 1 win, 1 loss, 2 ties. Not happy about that. Not surprised about it. Do Canadian whiskeys have a tendency to taste very similar one to another? Answer, yes. Kind of like Irish whiskey. So you could say, well, why buy all these brands? Good question. My answer would be, I don't know. Good point. I don't know why. I'm searching for something different. Well, 40 Creek is different, but it's different in a weird way. Like it tastes like maple syrup, like pancake syrup, which I do like pancake syrup. I like pancakes, I like waffles. I don't know if whiskey should taste like that, but it does to me. Could that be flavoring added? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's flavoring added, but they don't say it on the label, and they're not required to say it. So that's a convenient way to get around that. Do these taste flavored? Well, no, not necessarily. Not necessarily, but they could be, but they don't taste it. I'm just tasting regular grain. But competent whiskeys, definitely. Enjoyable whiskeys, certainly. Worth the price, yeah. Glad got this one for $7.99. Don't expect to see that again. I paid the regular price for this, which still $16. I think it was $15.99. I'm pretty sure it was $15.99. And you know what? I think it might have been $13.99. And then it was 26 for the big bottle. Let's see, Hocus Pocus liquor. I'm gonna see if they have it in stock. I know they do. Well, I hope they do. Verifying that I'm human. They do this now because people try to robot them. Okay. Yes, I'm at least 21. Alexandria, Louisiana. I want to shop Prairieville. Prairieville is about 45 miles northwest of here. West northwest. Beautiful store. I'm telling you, they got 3 locations in Louisiana: Prairieville, Alexandria, and Lake Charles. Highly recommended. If you like to shop for liquor, go there. Don't hesitate. They've been open for 83 years. There it is. Look. Oh, I got to show you all this. Then I'm out of here. I got to show you this. I got to show it to you. I'm talking about Canadian Peak featured products. Spiritual. Here are a few of our staff favorites on our shelves right now. Andrew Janiak Stone Cairn Cabernet Sauvignon. I ain't never heard. Canadian Peak blended whiskey. What I'm talking about, $15.99, but I think it was $13.99 when I bought it, but it was 8 years ago. No, it was during the scamdemic. It was in 2020. Well, 2021, January, during the scamdemic. About 24 years to get through this bottle. El Luchador Blanco Tequila. Oh, I've heard of that one. I've heard of El Luchador. Gray's Peak Vodka. Heard of that. Iron Wheel Kentucky blended whiskey. I have a bottle. I have a bottle, by the way, but I paid $8. But that, like I said, it was 4 years ago. They claim these are their picks. I'm not saying they're lying. Maybe they really do like it. Or they're trying to promote it. New arrivals. Buzzball Pumpkin. Oh, no. Not a pumpkin buzzball. Are you kidding? They're not kidding. They're not joking. This is real. This is no dream. This is really happening. All right. So, you ever driving around Baton Rouge, Louisiana? It's easy to get to the stores right on the main highway. I mean, it's like no going on this road and this back road, and it's on the main highway, and it's easy to park. It's a snap, and that store is amazing. But you better be willing to stay because you're going to stay, even if you're not willing. You're going to stay because you're going to be so amazed. You'll be like shocked. Their beer selection is huge, unreal, but you want to check your dates. You know, these beer places, they'll keep the stuff on the shelf way past the best by date. You know, they all do that. Their wine selection is off the chain. So I've never been to Lake Charles and Alexandria, those locations, but I'm sure they're equally amazing. I don't go there much because I don't live close. It's 45 miles away. I'm not driving 45 miles just to go there. If I lived around Baton Rouge, and I was born in Baton Rouge, but if I lived around Baton Rouge, yeah, I'd be going there all the time. That would be one of my main places. Like I have certain stores around here I'm always hitting up because they're awesome and I live close to them. Erwin Papa says, top of the morning. Top of the morning to you. So the winner, I don't know. Oh, I didn't even look at let me put the glasses back in position. I couldn't tell them apart, so I don't even know what the point of this is, but that's the Tennessee Crown Club, and that's the Canadian Peak. I'm glad I didn't call it because I'd have gotten it wrong, because that I said had a sherry note, but ha, that's the Canadian Peak, so I'm glad I didn't call it. 1 win, 1 loss, 2 ties. Not a good record. Now, I have so many Sazerac flavored Canadian whiskeys. Well, not flavored whiskey. That would be like Rich and Rare Apple, which I saw last week for $7.49. That's a deal. Let me tell you something. If you like apple flavored Canadian whiskey like Crown Royal Apple, Rich and Rare makes a great one. And for $7.49, that's like pull your hair out. You can't believe it's so cheap. But I didn't buy it because I already had it. But I tell this guy at work every year, he's like, man, for Christmas, I'm gonna buy a half a bottle of Crown Royal Apple and put it in the freezer. I said, forget that. You could buy a whole full bottle of Rich and Rare Apple for $7 something. But he ignores me because he knows he's not going to Metairie to buy it. But I might tell him this year, I can pick it up for you. In my opinion, I think he's going to love it, but maybe he'll hate it, but I don't believe it. What beer do you keep well stocked in the fridge? Really, honestly, natural ice. And some people rag on that, like most people rag on it. They say it's terrible. It's definitely not terrible. And I've been drinking it for years. I started tasting that in 1996, 29 years ago. And I love it. I can get a whole 30 pack for $22. Although I rather the older days when I got a 30 pack for $14.50. Thank you very much. But the calories are only 135, 10 less than Budweiser. It's 5.9% alcohol, so you got to be careful with it because it'll get you tanked. Like you'll be sipping on it like, oh, I can handle this. There's nothing to it. And then the next day it's like, who wrote all this on my Facebook page? Oh, it was me. Uh-oh. You know, it's a dangerous product, but I keep it tamped down, you know. But I love it. And I tried doing Milwaukee's Best Light, which I can get for the same price. It's just too bland. Well, it's actually one of the best light beers you can get, but it's just a little too thin for me. It was like you get home from work, you worked over 8 hours, you're like, man, I want to have a beer. I'm looking so forward to, and I always say I'm looking so forward to natural ice, but I never said I was looking forward to Milwaukee's Best Light. But I would drink it, but I was like, really good light beer. I'm not dogging on it. It's really good, but the style isn't for me. Light beer is just not for me. I'm sorry, it's not for me. It's too watery. If light beer was the only beer available, I probably wouldn't really drink beer too much. I would drink a few a week, but my normal 22 to 24 beers a week, nah. I just wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't have any. I just drink water. Water's cheaper. But that's what I drink, yeah. And I love it. I'll admit it. I'm not ashamed. Some people, they'll drink it. They'd be ashamed to talk about it. They're like, I have a channel. I have to protect my channel's reputation. I can't talk about that. Well, I just telling you the truth. Okay. So the next time, tomorrow, Wednesday, I plan to bring in another Canadian. I'm trying to go in chronological order by year of introduction. I might overlook something, but I'm trying to go. So this was 1961. That's how long it's been on the market. And so the next one I have was introduced in 1971. I had a 67. That was Canadian Mist. That's real common, Canadian Mist. But I ran out of it. It's gone. So I have something called the Northern Lights. The Northern Lights, formerly known as Northern Lights. Northern Light, singular. Used to be called the Northern Light. At some point in history, they changed the name to the Northern Lights, plural. Don't know why that happened, but it did. And that was introduced 54 years ago. And not the greatest thing in the world, but definitely not the worst. And I got a deal at Winn-Dixie. I was almost finished. My bottle was like this low. It was like one tasting left. I had enough for one tasting. And I went to Winn-Dixie for something. I don't know. It wasn't to buy whiskey, I can assure you. But they have this discount basket where they're trying to get rid of stuff. And they'll put this bright red tag, like a fluorescent red tag, and it'll have closeout price. And I looked at that thing. I said, $4.74. I'm keying it. It's glass, not plastic. I said, $4 and brown glass too. That's better. I said, $4.74. Well, I'm buying this. And they had so many bottles, I could have bought the whole basket full. But what am I gonna do with it? So I went and it rang up $4.75. I wasn't gonna argue about a penny. But to get that bottle for $4.75 is unreal. And it's a good product, not a great product. Not amazing. And I think I'll be able to tell it apart. I do believe I will be able to differentiate the Northern Lights, which you can kind of find that around. It's not everywhere, like, Crown Royal, but it's around. It is around. Let's say probably 35 to 40% of liquor stores will have it. There's a good chance you'll find it. Would I recommend it? Well, yeah. Well, especially for $4.74. I think they had 12 bottles in that. I think they had the whole case. They still sell it, but they're only in the big handle. I think they decided to get rid of the 750s. Yeah, I could have bought the whole case for $56.88. But then I'd have been stuck with the Northern Lights, which I wasn't really looking to. But I don't hate it, but I don't need it. I don't drink whiskey anyway, except for these challenges. But it has kind of if you look at Total Wine and More, their ratings for it, it's pretty good. People kind of like it, But anyway, so thanks. So tomorrow, get ready for Wednesday. The Northern Lights. Not exactly a legendary brand, but been around for over 50 years, versus Tennessee Crown Club. Definitely not a legendary brand. Definitely not even a well-known brand. But I do live in Louisiana, and we get the most obscure stuff. I mean, it's hard to believe what we get. All right, well, thank y'all, and y'all take care. Bye-bye, everybody.